My name is John Tan, born and raised in Chicago. Been married for 20 years, 2 kids. Been riding motorcycles since 1996.
Mike McCauley, and you're here at the Turret Pub in my house. We actually have a logo. I'm a 25-year creative director, and so one of my designers for Christmas made the Turret Pub logo. And of course, the tagline is "Get You Drink On."
My first bike was a Harley Davidson 883. Now, I learned on that bike. Then after we got married and then we had kids, riding to Wisconsin or Indiana to Lake Geneva became riding to Blockbuster or to pick up Chinese food. Just didn't have the time. So I sold that bike in hopes of getting a bigger bike at the time. But over the years, I never picked up a bike. So now that my kid's a little older, I started looking at getting a bike. And I really wanted to get more of a, not a Harley anymore, but I really wanted to get a vintage looking bike, something a little stylish. And I Googled it, I put in vintage motorcycle, and then Janus popped up. And I thought, what is this? I go, okay, is it a new bike? And then I found out more about it. And then I called the company and I spoke to someone there and told me that they'll be at a ride called the Distinguished Gentleman's Ride. So I thought, great, it's in Chicago, I'll go out and meet you there. And when I sat on my first one, and that's when I fell in love. So every day I kept talking to my wife that I'm going to get a bike. I took her to the Discovery Day, and she got to meet Richard and Devin and watched how the bike was created and where it's being created and the story behind it. And I picked up a Halcyon, number 107.
I grew up in downtown Chicago, in the city. I went to St. Ignatius College Prep for high school, where I met John. And there's people in life who you laugh so hard you cry. That was like this group of us. So hadn't seen each other in many years and met again at a reunion. And then he turned me on to the Janus. And that's kind of how I learned about Janus. But I've personally been riding since I was in probably 6th grade. So we had little mini bikes in the alleyways in downtown Chicago. And I remember, like, the first bike we had, it was always breaking, so like the throttle cable broke, but we wanted to ride, so we actually put our hands on the we would ride with one hand, and that's how we grew up. And it went from there to the dirt bikes, and then living downtown, I got a Vespa, an old P200, maybe 25 years ago. I rode that bike. I'm around Lincoln Park for 20 years, and then I got a Ducati Monster, and I did BMWs and Triumphs, and now my latest adventure is the Janus Halcyon, and I love it. It's great. The way I originally found out about Janus, I think we talked to my wife. She said, John's into motorcycles. I'm like, oh, John, I've had because we hadn't seen each other in a long time. And I said, John, I've had everything, Ducati, vintage BMWs. He goes, you got to check this out. And as you can say, John is a man of style and impeccable taste. And he showed me the picture of this bike. I was like, what? It looked like the 1930s, and I thought it was so cool. And that's all fine and good until I actually rode the motorcycle. These are solid bikes. This isn't a showpiece or a museum piece. This is a bike that's meant to be ridden, and so that's when I was hooked, when I actually rode it. All that integrity and the passion and the care that it's made with is one thing. But when you get on it and it rides that good, hands down, it's the funnest motorcycle I've ever had. It's so stripped down to its essence. And and the ergonomics of the thing, and you could be going 30 miles an hour, but be having more fun than if you're flying down at 80, on a super bike. So I love it.
For example, I'm in the market to get a Porsche. I actually won it through my company, and I can pick one out. And I was looking at it, and I can get if I get a 911, those things are so fast, and I would not have fun. I'd rather take, for example, a Boxster base, where I can just rev through the gears, right, rather than a PDK, right, and I have to have a 5-speed, and just really enjoy it as a roadster. You have enough power that you can go through the gears and enjoy it on the roads here. I'm not going to track my car all the time, right, and much less track my motorcycle. That's why I really love the Janus, because I really enjoy just riding around in the neighborhoods, just doing about 35 to 45 miles an hour and just cruising, and that's the fun of it. Yeah. It's just riding at that speed because you can really hear the engine. It's so enjoyable because it's really a true roadster type motorcycle.
Every time I'm on the thing, it's an adventure. It's a joy to ride.
So for me, I haven't ridden as much as Michael has ridden, but now this is my second bike, and it's just the freedom of riding on this bike. just feeling that, again, it's not a huge touring bike. It's not hellaciously fast, but it's fast enough where you can enjoy it. And if I wanted to go cross country, I can certainly do it on this bike, as Richard did. But this bike is perfect for my needs. I can ride this bike every day. I can ride it to work, and I can ride it pretty much any time that I want and really enjoy it.
I mean, if anybody is concerned about riding the Janus, it's a piece of cake. It's really a very easy bike to ride. The Janus inspires confidence. You know what I'm saying? It's like it's a very easy to handle bike, easy to get out of trouble. It's probably the most effortless bike I've ridden. Like the Harleys are great, they're very heavy, and like the Ducatis are really twitchy. This is kind of right in the sweet spot.
The bike is obviously not a speed bike, and in preparation for getting the Janus, I took the motorcycle safety course again because I hadn't ridden in several years. So I took the course. It was a refresher course. So when I jumped on my Janus, because it's not overly fast, I was so comfortable cruising, at the speeds that I love riding the bike at. When I started falling in love with Janus, I started sharing that passion with my wife, and I said, "This is my next bike." And then I said, why don't we go down to their Discovery Day? And it was a beautiful fall day, and she got to meet Richard, and she got to meet Devin and everyone. And she got to understand why I really like the bike and why I love the bike. It's because of the way it looks, what it stood for, and it really is a kind of a reflection of me. I mean, I could have easily gotten a Honda Rebel, or I could have gotten a Yamaha, but this bike really fits me because it's, I love the style of it. I love the way it rides and just really the look and what it stood for. So I really had to sell to my wife, but once we went to Discovery Day, she was sold.
What I loved about ordering the bike was the sheer simplicity of it. It wasn't like, this like catalog and like diagram. It was like a sheet of paper. Well, green, this. Yeah. And Jackie was like, okay, that's it. I'm like, what else do you need? She's like, nothing. I'm like, that's it? And it was like, there was like such a great sense of trust.
And what I loved was Jackie would send me pictures of the progress of the building of my bike. I think I was more excited about seeing that than the ultrasound of my two kids, because she would send me a picture and I go, "Oh, here's the frame," and I'd say, "Zara, look, here's the picture." She goes, "Okay, that's nice." And then Jackie sent me a picture of the wheels being put on and the engine. It was great. So I actually got to follow the progress of the building of my bike, and there was no hassle, and everyone at Janus was so nice and cooperative to send me things. So really had no problems. So
yeah, I think I kept waiting to get zinged. Like the bike's ready, and like how much? Oh yeah, I know there's gonna be like another cost in there. This thing, how much? Oh, it's just this. I'm like, yeah, what else? No, just this. I'm like, Jacqueline, are you sure? She's like, no, that's it. I picked it up and I gave him a check, and that was it.
Right, and there was really no pressure. There wasn't a high pressure salesman trying to sell me the bike. The type of person that buys a Halcyon or Janus does their homework first. They do it online, they find out what the bike is about, because they're not out there. They're not out there yet.
Yeah.
So you're doing your research and you're doing your due diligence, and then you're finding out more about the bike, and you're finding out the character of the company and who's building it. And being built in the Midwest, where the supply chain is right around probably within 50 miles, and having the Amish built, it just gave me just a sense of confidence and feeling that, wow, this is really quality. And every time I go out and I go out and see my bike, I can still smell the leather on my saddlebags, and it's great. And there's always a story that I tell whenever someone comes up to me and says, "Hey, what kind of bike is that?" And then I tell them they think it's a 75-year-old bike, and I tell them that it's a new motorcycle company made in Goshen, Indiana, and it's very good quality. It's handmade. And then when they ask, how much is that thing? $12,000, $13,000? I go, you really need to go on the website and see how much it is. And they're really surprised how much I paid.
It's almost like the double take when people say, how old's that bike? It's brand new. What? Yeah, it's brand new.
Right.
Like it is, and then of course the prices again. They say the same thing about the price. How much? Wait,
right.
It's what? And then they say, and then they pull back. I could get one of these. You'll see. Anyone who drives one of these bikes will see. You make friends and you meet people, and it's especially at the bike shows, man. It's great fun. Since I purchased my Janus, I've had no problems of any kind. It's bulletproof. I ride it a lot. I did have an oil change, valve adjustment, normal, and I was going to go to Goshen, bring the bike down there, and have the work done. And the Jacqueline said, "Well, Cameron will come in. It was actually cheaper for Cameron to come to my house." He came to my house, worked on the bike, did a beautiful. We talked about it, and I remember asking Cameron, well, so what do I do? He was all finished with his work. I go, what do I do with the bike now? He goes, ride it like you stole it, and I did, and I do. I live on the North Shore of Chicago, and these are some of the best roads in the state. And Sheridan Road is a 2-laner that literally rides for 10, 20, 30 miles almost into Wisconsin. And I mean, it is a series of sweepers and hairpins, and it is the most fun. And there's no stoplights, there's no stop signs, and you can just go from here to sort of Lake Bluff. And every chance I get, especially on an early morning, or if I can get home early from work, I hit that road, man, and I know every turn, every twist, every shift, and that's my happy place.
So I live about 5 minutes from work, but it takes me about 25 minutes to get to work because I always take the long way. I really enjoy where I go because there are a lot of turns where I go, and it's just so much fun on my bike. I mean, my Halcyon just keeps revving through, and I'm having a good time getting to work. And when I park there, I get so many compliments, and I love it.
Chicago is a great place for the Janus because you have all these little streets going through neighborhoods like Clark Street, and you can't, you kind of meander, and they're not big giant, 4-laners. It's Chicago's an old city, so a lot of old roads, so it's actually perfect.
And one of the best rides in Chicago is taking Lakeshore Drive, which is also part of the Distinguished Gentleman's Ride. And the speed limit there is about 45 miles an hour. So the ride is perfect. Enjoying the lake on your left or your right, depending which way you're going, and it's just perfect place to ride.
I guess I should thank John because he's the reason I have a Janus is because of John, and so John, and the reason the color is because of John. He picked it out, so thank you, John.
You're welcome.
Love my bike.
Awesome.
Oh hell yeah! Let's go. Come on.